Hello, my lovely. We did not get to where we are right now by doing things the way everybody else did, right? We know we've often felt like the weirdo in the room. I know I did for a really long time. We're natural born storytellers and disruptors, and we love to shake shit up. We do not like to be told what to do, but also low key tell us what to do. And our brains are wired to see the world in a different way. I know that my diagnosis, which happened while running this business, changed my whole life. I don't say that anecdotally. It literally changed everything in every part of my world. And it also changed my better business for the better because I got curious and I started working with how my brain works. I started to simplify and scale and created recurring monthly revenue. And that is what I teach my clients to do too. I call it the spicy minded way. It's my ADHD brain talking with your ADHD brain and figuring out what works for you. I've seen how it's changed my clients' world, and I know it'll do the same for you. So basically, I'm here to brainwash you into believing in yourself. In today's episode, we are going to discuss the Instagram trend that made me ugly cry, the love of your life, since it is Valentine's Day when I'm recording this, your fuck yes pricing that you need to have in order to attract your fuck yes clients. So that's what we're talking about today. From one ADHD woman to another, turn the volume up to an 11 and get ready to learn a thing or two. Welcome back to the ADHD Entrepreneur, the podcast for feral ADHD women who refuse to play by the fucking rules. Hello. My name is Carrie. I'm your host. I'm the chief weirdo of Carrie Out Loud. And if you are new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you found the podcast. If this episode has an impact on you, if you could do me a quick favor, subscribe, turn on the notifications so that you can come back every Wednesday and leave a 5-star review because that helps other women like you find this podcast. And since I understand ADHD both professionally and personally, each episode has a few different topics. It's not all one topic because that's how our brains work. We have random trains of thought. So let's get into today's topics, plural. So, first things first, the trend that made me ugly cry. Okay, there's a trend right now going around on Instagram about taking your younger self to coffee. What you would say or what would happen. And I was reading other people's and I was like, this is a really cool one. And I have some friends who took it and made it, funny, or, took it and put their own spin on it. But I did it how everybody else was doing it. And here's what I wrote. I met my younger self for coffee today, but both of us fucking hate coffee. So I ordered a soda water with lemon times 2, and she ordered a Diet Coke, also times 2. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and whispered, I hate myself. I'm so fucking weird. I get bullied every day. They all hate me. I just want to be liked. Feeling the pain and the weight of her words, I took her hand and told her that she's been diagnosed with ADHD later in her life, but she had been taught to hate what makes her different, which was never about her at all. I let her know that those differences would become her power and to stay weird because that's all by design. I told her she never gave up on herself, and that's what makes her really fucking brave. I told her that her loud, messy, beautiful, chaotic brain and mouth are going to build something so fucking extraordinary one day that I can't wait for her to see it with her own 2 eyes and feel it in her heart. Her eyes widened with shock, and I nodded to confirm it was the truth. I told her she was not broken and that she would find her people who loved her exactly as she was. As tears ran down her face in utter disbelief, I leaned in and said, you'll spend years tearing yourself apart, shrinking, hiding your fierce voice to be more palatable and a people pleaser to the nth. But the minute you got diagnosed, you would stop fighting yourself and become the fucking force of nature that is unstoppable. She hugged me so hard it took my breath away. She whispered, I can't believe it works out for us. And I hugged her back as tightly as I possibly could and said, I know, some days I still can't believe it myself. Because, this trend, I'm not a huge trend follower. I don't do a ton of trends on Instagram. But this trend really was like, ooh, this is really great. And then I wrote all of that and I was like, wow, you know, I just can picture my younger self. And those are the things that I would have said. And I would be in total disbelief that we had people who loved us and cared about us exactly as we are, and that we've created something massive and extraordinary as the thing that we do for a living, and that I think that if I were to go back and be able to talk to her and tell her what that was, it would shock the ever loving shit out of her. So I just wanted to share that with you. That is a reel that I have up, but when I wrote it, it just felt like something I should share here because you may have felt that way too. This may strike a chord with you, and it just felt important to share. So, moving to the next train, it does have a little bit to do with this. I want to remind you that you are the love of your life. You. You're the only person who you're with from birth to death. You are the one who knows yourself the best, what your needs are, your desires, your goals. They may be buried deep down underneath a bunch of conditioning and bullshit and negative messages from your lifetime before you knew you had ADHD, but you may not be able to admit it just yet or to allow yourself to believe that certain things are possible for you. But you do know what's best for you. And you do know those instincts, those pings that hit you. They're there for a reason. And I just wanted to remind you, you get to determine how well or how shitty you're going to love yourself throughout your lifetime. You get to determine whether you look at yourself and see the upsides or you look at yourself and see a shit show. You get to shift your perspective right like that in an instant. Am I saying there are going to be not going to be voices in your head trying to push up against that because you've thought negatively about yourself your whole life? Of course there will be. That's it's called being human. It's electrical impulses. Sometimes, we can't even control our thoughts. I don't know if you've ever had an intrusive thought where you're like, "Holy shit, I just thought that." But it wasn't a thought that you created. It was an impulse in your brain. And if I asked you to list the 5 most important people in your life, think about who they are. Now, were you on that list? I'm going to guess not. So if you aren't on that list, if you did not think of yourself, I want you to take a little bit of time and ask why. Why were you not on there? Shifting gears. All right. Let's talk about a little bit of business here. That is just a little bit of love and self-love for, like I said, I'm recording this on Valentine's Day, and I want you to look at yourself and show yourself some love. So I wanted to ask you those questions. Next up is business. We're going to talk about pricing your offers because this is one of the biggest problems that women with ADHD in business have. And first of all, we're going to go through a little bit of, I just have a few questions about your fuck yes client, if you know them inside and out. We're going to talk a little bit about carrot versus stick marketing. And then I'm going to dive into the pricing and give you a little bit of a mindset shift for you to look at that will simplify the way you do pricing and will simplify your business because you will be able to take less clients for more money and create recurring revenue as well. And that is how you simplify, part of how you simplify to grow your business. So let's start with the first part. Do you know your fuck yes client inside and out? You've been doing business for a while now. if you're listening to this podcast, this is really leaning into that messy middle spot, right? So, who is that person? That dream person you think of working with? And here's what's funny. I used to get asked this question and I'd be like, "Oh, I know exactly who she is." And nope, I didn't. I was nowhere near specific enough because I was afraid that if I got more specific, if I got too specific, that I would just rule out anyone who wasn't that. And what I've said a few times lately, and I'll repeat again, is the more you narrow your scope, the wider your net will grow. Because even though you're speaking directly to that one person, that gives you clarity on what your messaging needs to be and those type of things. It doesn't mean it's not going to attract people who are like in the vicinity of that person. And those clients will end up being amazing as well. So I want to ask you a few questions. Do you know their actual pain points? I'm not saying to know these pain points so you can dig into them. I'm going to talk about that when I said the carrot versus the stick marketing. But do you know? Do you know what they contend with on a day-to-day basis? Do you know the problems that they have or the things they're butting up against? Research it. You've got to know this. You've got to know the thing they're struggling with or the things they're struggling with. Do you know their desires and their goals? What they want in their business, what their goals are in their business? Another question that you get asked when you're doing client work like this is what keeps them up at night? That question is really about what are their biggest struggles, the things underneath the surface level. So they may perhaps not be making enough revenue, but underneath that, they think that they don't have any worth or value. That kind of depth. Do you know how to communicate in a way that talks directly to them? In your content, in your messaging, are you specific? Super, 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 super specific. If you do not follow my girl, Shannon McKinstry, she talks about specificity. And I have learned from a person, Marketing 101, who worked with $1 billion company. And specificity can be so specific that you're talking about East Coast, West Coast, or a certain city or a certain town or a a certain type of person in a certain location. Like you can get down to that specific. Now, unless you're selling a product, like a physical product, um, that type of specificity, location, and all that jazz may not come into play, but maybe it does for you. Maybe it does. Do you know their age range? For me, it's elder millennials. They are attracted to me. I love working with them. I have found throughout my work that those are my people and I'm their person. So I got that specific. Elder millennials, right? What type of work do they do that you're best equipped to help with? Not throwing a bunch of fucking spaghetti against the wall. This is how this is how you simplify. This specificity is one of the pieces that's going to help you simplify. So who can you support best? I can support coaches. I can support online service providers and course creators. That is like the thing that I am able to do the best. I learned that through time, through working with different people, what my zone of magic is. And that really feels and tends to be the place that's in my wheelhouse. What can you help with better than anyone else? That's your focus, right? So, back to pain points. You see a lot of marketing out there deeply and heavily digging into pain points. You feel like shit. You feel overwhelmed, blah, blah, blah. I've said it over and over again in this podcast, and I'm going to keep shouting it from the rooftops. Pleasure marketing, solution marketing, and speaking up to women will get you farther Does that mean you do not acknowledge their pain points? No, of course you do. You understand what the deal is that they contend with in their mind that are the hard parts. But instead of picking at the hard parts, doesn't it feel better to show them the aspirational outcome, what they're aspiring to, what that outcome can look like and feel like for them, instead of just poke, 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 poke at the pain points? There is a huge difference between the two. The carrot marketing speaks up to women, uses that solution focus. The stick is the one where here's your problems and burp, 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 beating them over the head with that. That doesn't feel good to anybody. Plus, that isn't going to speak to the women who are action takers, the women who want to find solutions and speaking to exactly what those solutions, what it feels like once those solutions are in place. Do a lot of the pain point marketing, you end up talking to more woe is me people. Those are those are not the people you want to attract. Maybe you do, I don't know. But for me, I noticed a shift when I started continually speaking up to women and really understanding and learning what that meant truly. And it's not like I ever really dug into pain points, but there were too many and too much in the content. So instead of, yes, I acknowledge that you have these things that you contend with, but I also know here's what it can look like, here's what it can feel like, and here's how I can help you do that. I can help you facilitate that. Be aspirational. Don't dwell on or beat them over the head with their problems. Show them the road that they can take to get to where they want to go, that it's accessible, that it's available to them, that it's absolutely theirs for the taking. It feels so much better that way to you and to your future clients, right? For me, I it took me time to really hone in on who my personal ideal client was. And as I kept honing in and adding little more pieces and more little elements, those women, the aspirational women, the fuck yeah, I'm here to do some shit or fix some shit. Let's fucking go. With ADHD, which does have things we contend with that I understand personally and professionally, that I will be able to support them in those moments of that difficulty because they know I am like them and that I contend with those things too. But they are there to go for it. So I just kind of want to challenge you a little bit. If you do pain point marketing, like deeply lean into that. I want to challenge your thinking on that. I want to double dog dare you to try to write a piece of content that barely mentions their pain points and shows them what their future looks like when they fix a few certain things in their business that are holding them back or that they are putting on the back burner, etc. And that you can help them to do that. You're their person. When you speak up to women, they put themselves in the shoes of somebody who works with you to see if you're a fit. Do you want to be a fit for women who constantly beat themselves over the head with a stick? Or do you want to work with women who are like, let's fucking go? Yeah, I have some shit. It happens. ADHD has frustrations, but I help get myself through them and I have the support in order to contend with those. Getting curious about your ADHD, learning it, understanding it, and learning how to navigate it. Those are the women I want to work with. So that's who I speak to on the regular. Okay. So I just want you to know that it is a far better way to position your marketing that feels good to you, that feels good to your fuck yes client, And I highly recommend giving it a try if you have been more leaning into pain points. Again, I'm not saying don't mention them, but mention them more on the fly as opposed to them being the whole focus. And the last topic that I'm bringing up today is pricing and pricing your offers for your fuck yes clients in a way that I want to give you a mindset shift here, a mindset shift. So, this is going to give you a little bit of different perspective. Are you looking at pricing in your business like you're pricing yourself and your quote unquote worth? What am I worth? What am I worth per hour? What am I worth per project? What am I worth per month for 4 sessions? Are you like looking at it through the lens of what you're worth? Here's the flip. What you're pricing is actually the transformation. And this is why knowing your ideal client, including their income range, is very important. What the pricing is to reflect is the transformation your client is going to have because of your expertise, how you're going to help them collapse time and shorten the time between A to Z or A to D, B and C. They don't have to do that. You've been there, you know that those things aren't required. You can say, nope, those are not the things to be prioritizing. These are the things to be prioritizing. Let's get you there just a little bit faster. So let's say because of the transformation and the expertise you offer, your ideal client will end up making 100,000 more a year over 5 years. The transformation they receive gets them an extra $500,000 over the next 5 years. Maybe even more. But let's just take this number. They have to do the work. You'll never be able to guarantee their outcome because they have to take action. They have to want to do the thing. They'd have to not just say they want to do the thing, they have to actually take the actions to do the thing. With ADHD women, to take those action, we need one of 3 things: a guardrails, accountability, or both. That's part of where coaching comes in, right? But at this point in your business, you know the changes you can help facilitate. You know them. You've seen them with your own eyes over and over again as you've been working with your people. So here's the question I want to ask you. Would you price one-on-one coaching at $500 a month, knowing that the transformation that the client will have is $500,000? I wouldn't hire you for that low price point, for that level of transformation. No fucking way. Because if you're willing to undervalue yourself, you're not going to value me. You're not going to value my business. It's hard to respect you. And I'm not saying that to be an asshole. I'm just saying that to be real. And this is not something I only think and mention. Ask other people that are higher up in their businesses. Would they hire somebody at that price point who's going to give them a $500,000 transformation in their business? Fuck no. Because that person doesn't value their own business. They don't value their own ability to facilitate that transformation. That transformation is worth 10 times what you're charging per month. I want to give you this reframe because it's part of how you simplify your business. You having an understanding of how you help and the change you facilitate and charging for your expertise and their transformation is the way to look at your pricing. Don't you think personally, if you're running a 6-figure business and you worked with a coach and you knew it was going to unclog your revenue pipes and you were going to have a $500,000 transformation in your business, paying 30 or 40K in 1 year, that time frame with one coach who takes you on that deep dive, that deep level, that is worth your return of it. That ROI, return on investment, is solid. That's solid. So it's hard sometimes for women with ADHD to do pricing on their offers and the one-on-one time, things like that, because it is so easy to go into self-worth and self-value and lack of self-respect because, We have contended with that. But it's time to, grab your lady nuts and understand what that return of investment is to the client and look at your pricing through that lens. This may make you want to vomit. I don't know. You may think 30 or 40K over a year is super low. I know there are coaches out there who charge 150, 160,000 for a year just to be in their masterminds. If that made you choke, good. Because if you are not of the belief that you can have and do anything you want, we have this wide open fucking space to make unbelievable impact on other people's lives. Help them with their own legacies. Help them create impact. Do you understand that when you impact one woman or one person who's your ideal client and they turn around and that impact reaches out to, say, 20 of their clients, and then that impact reaches out to another 100? Do you see what I'm saying? It's this ripple effect. So I'm not saying price yourself. Price what you're worth. It has nothing to do with you. Your worth, your value has nothing to do with a dollar sign. But in your business, that is not a nonprofit, you are here to make a shit ton of money. I am here to help women create ridiculous wealth. Why? Because that's how we change the fucking world. That is, as my OBM Brooke, as badass as she is, that is how we are able to protest, disrupt, dysregulate the systems that are around us. Show the fuck up. It's food for thought. These podcast episodes always are. Take what you like, leave the rest. But see what that reframe does for you. Go into your offer suite and take a look at your offers or take a look at your one-on-one time. Think about your average income of your average client and take a look at your pricing through that lens and see if you have a different perspective after the fact. Happy Valentine's Day, or as I say, happy VD, because I'm freaking weird. And I always think that's really funny because, Valentine's Day, VD, whatever. But yeah. Also, I did want to mention that the my Unfuck Your Money Honey program is coming out on Monday, this upcoming Monday. If you are listening to this past February 17th, 2025, that means it is available. You can go to my Instagram. The link is there to grab it so that you can start learning more of these types of things that I talk about, and so that you can simplify your business and really start to create that recurring revenue that I'm talking about so that you feel more stable in your business. You don't leak energy or time. You have boundaries. Well, yeah, boundaries are a big one. And I am going to be putting together a really cool freebie for you that is an audit on 3 areas of your business, which are boundaries, capacity, and simplification. That is something I'm also putting together soon. So that will be available. And I will put that in the show notes when it's available so that you are able to hop in there. It's going to be a 3-day email series with videos where I talk to you and help kind of walk you through auditing a couple areas of your business that you may not have thought of. Or maybe you have, but you just haven't visited them in a while, and you can revisit it because simplify, simplify, simplify. Less is more, baby. I know our ADHD brains want to say, wrong, no, more is more, and more, 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 more. But when we are taking on a little bit less in our business and we are supported in a way that works for our brain, that's how we make a fuck ton of money. And I'm not a greedy, money hungry person. It's more like I want us all to have wealth so we can use our money in the places that it belongs. Because when women have money, we put it into places that are beautiful. Instead of, as I jokingly say, we give to charities and different causes as opposed to put dick rockets into the sky, like some of the male billionaires are doing. No dream is too big, baby. No dream is too big. And with that, I'm going to end today's episode. If you loved this episode, like I said at the beginning, subscribe, give us a 5-star review, tell a friend, drop in the DMs and tell me what you got out of the episode. send a carrier pigeon, whatever. And I'm the connection queen. Community means everything to me. You're a part of my community. And I always love to hear from you. So until next week, I see you. I love you. I'm fucking rooting for you always. And don't forget to keep it weird. Okay? Okay. Bye. Oh, hey, you're still here. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the ways to follow me. And of course, my goal is to find and help as many women with ADHD get away from the 9-to-5 grind, because it's just not designed for our neurospicy brilliance, and there are other ways to do life. So by subscribing, sharing, and giving a 5-star review, it helps other women find this podcast as well. And if there's an episode you really love, please feel free to take a screenshot and share it on your social and tag me in it so that I can thank you personally. Until next time, you spicy brained unicorn. Bye.